All right, guys, confession time. You're hearing it here first. I'm a main dining room guy. That's right, given the choice, I prefer to eat in the main dining room when I go cruising, and on our last cruise on the Carnival Vista, we ate in the main dining room 6 out of the 7 nights. So in the past, I've showed you some of my food, I've given you some commentary about it, but never, ever have I ranked my food based on what was the best. And so that's what we have in today's video, ranking the MDR food from the Carnival Vista. Hey, what's up everybody? Tony with Lido Loca. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for spending some time. Thanks for jumping in to watch the food video. If you like cruising content, please consider subscribing to the channel with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of our daily uploads. So this is how it's gonna work. On the last cruise, Carnival Vista, 6 nights in the main dining room, I tried 7 different appetizers. I tried 6 different entrees and 6 different desserts. And now I'm going to rank them from my least favorite to my most favorite. We're gonna start with desserts, which is my least favorite course of the meal. We're gonna go through the desserts, we're gonna go through the appetizers, and we're gonna go through the entrees and find out of the MDR of the main dining room food. We're gonna find out which food is the best, at least in my opinion. I'm sure you have a different opinion, but this is the food that I had on the Carnival Vista, starting with the desserts. Coming in at number 6 was the dessert they provided for us on Halloween. They scrapped the regular menu and they come up with 2 Halloween themed desserts. This was a cheesecake that had stuff all around it, as you can see, a nice little graveyard bat looking scene. The cheesecake was just okay. It was a little meh. I don't know if there was pumpkin in it. It was a little dry. Out of the 6 desserts I had, this was number 6. Number 5, I really didn't think that this dessert would be this high or this disliked by me, but this is the Bittern Blanc. I've been getting the Bittern Blanc for the last few cruises, and basically what you get is this nice fluffy bread pudding, and then they put this cool syrup on top, or this cool, I don't know, the stuff that's on top, they put it on there. Normally it's not as gloopy. This was a little gloopy. It seemed more like gravy, and the color was off from what I'd had previously, and so because of the gloopy topping there, the gloopy sauce, it was not, I don't even want to call it a sauce because of the gloopy gravy. The Bittern Blanc did not hit me the way it had in the past. The bread pudding ended up being a little dry. The core flavors were still there, but the execution was a little not good. Now, number 4 on my list was kind of a redemption of the Bittern Blanc. This is an orange souffle with a Grand Marnier sauce on it. This was executed really well. The souffle was light and tasty the way you'd want it to. Nice orange citrus flavor, and then the Grand Marnier sauce on top. This was a pretty good dessert. Now, I've said it before, number 3 is my favorite dessert. I've had it in a lot of places. This is a creme brulee. As you can see, just kind of a plain Jane creme brulee here. You got the custard, you got it bruleed on top with the sugar. I tell you what, I don't think it would take much to elevate this creme brulee. Put a little whipped cream, maybe some blueberries, some raspberry right there on top. I think this would definitely move the creme brulee up the list. But yeah, plain Jane creme brulee. It was tasty, the sugar was bruleed right, it was a good dessert. Number 2 on my list, and it's only the 2nd time I've ever had it at all in my life, this is the Baked Alaska, and it may be this high on my list just for the novelty of the thing. Carnival does a nice job. They do a whole parade with their Baked Alaska. These are set kind of aflame, a little flambe action. They walk around with the flaming Baked Alaska, and then they slice it up like a little pie. It's basically like getting a wedge of Neapolitan ice cream surrounded with some meringue. It's super sweet, super ice creamy, not for the lactose intolerant, but the presentation was really good on this one. It was cool to see the parade of Baked Alaska, and I think maybe that's what's giving me an enduring memory, but this was tasty. So number 2 on my list, Baked Alaska. Number 1 on my list, I tell you, before the cruise, if you would have asked me, I wouldn't have thought this would be number 1. Tiramisu is one of my favorite desserts, but it's hard to get good tiramisu here and there, especially if it's mass produced. This tiramisu came off really well. It was like the cream was really kind of light and fluffy. The ladyfingers that are soaked in espresso, they were really soaked well. There was a wonderful flavor. You can tell just by this picture that this thing was presented well, and they pulled it off well. This was the first night of the cruise. I think this was the first dessert I had, and so I don't know if that speaks to it because it was the first thing out, but this was my favorite dessert on the Carnival Vista, a really nice tiramisu. All right, jumping into appetizers. And appetizers, they're the bread and butter for most people when it comes to cruising. This is the thing sometimes you get multiples of, and there are definitely a couple nights where I got multiple appetizers. But let's kick it off. Number 7, this sounded really good to me. This was a salmon. It was kind of a brined salmon, and I really thought this was gonna be tasty. I thought it was gonna kind of move toward the sushi style, but the way it was prepared was more kind of a Scandinavian. I feel like it was like brined in some vinegar, and so it was salmon, but it definitely didn't have the taste I was looking for. This might have hit somebody else's palate in a different way, but it didn't hit me in a way that I enjoyed. I did finish it. It was the only app I had that night, but number 7 on my list is this salmon appetizer. Number 6, I really wanted to like. I think maybe the presentation is what threw me off. This was the Chesapeake crab cake. It was tasty. Now, thinking about it back, it was very tasty. All the flavors were there that you wanted from a crab cake, but you don't want some old busted up crab cake, and I think that's what kind of moved this higher up in my list. This thing was really tasty. I think I would feel better about it if it looked better, but when I look at this picture, I'm like, why is the crab cake all busted up? So it lost a spot or two on the list. And that may not make sense because some of these other things we're going to talk about, they don't look that banging either, but the crab cake, number 6 on the appetizer list. Number 5, the old standard, the Caesar salad. It doesn't vary too much from ship to ship. It's just a classic. Nice anchovy flavor in the dressing there on Carnival Cruise Lines. Pretty straightforward. You got your romaine, you got some parm, you got some croutons, and you got that anchovy tanged dressing. It's pretty good. Again, it's middle of the road. It's the old warhorse. Could be higher up on the list, but you know what you're getting, and there are some other options. You could eat Caesar every meal, honestly, and have a good time, but number 5 on the list, the Caesar salad. And number 4, I really wish it was higher up on the list, shrimp cocktail. Who doesn't love shrimp cocktail? I tell you what, I could eat multiple shrimp cocktail, but the presentation kills me on this bad boy. Just some sad shrimp laying on a plate next to a puddle of cocktail sauce. Like, whoa, the cocktail sauce fell on the plate. It's simple. It's shrimp cocktail. It really doesn't have to be that flashy, so maybe I'm grading it too hard. The flavor was good. The shrimp wasn't rank, anything like that. But it just, it made me sad to eat the shrimp cocktail. So while it's still ranked high on the list, number 4, it struggled to get to the top spot. And look, just to prove the fact that presentation doesn't necessarily win the day for me, some things hit me in an emotional place. Number 3, the classic wedge with a little blue cheese dressing. I tell you what, this isn't the most elegant wedge I've ever seen. I like to see the wedge with some blue cheese crumbles and some bacon and maybe the tomatoes done in a different way. But here it is, iceberg lettuce and a very tasty blue cheese sauce. And again, it reminds me of a time gone by. It reminds me of hanging out with my dad. I like the wedge for those reasons, and that's why it ranked number 3 on my list. And number 2 on my list, again, it's not setting the world on fire with presentation, but you've taken 2 of my favorite things, 2 of the things I love to eat on a cruise ship, you've married them up and you've called it an appetizer. Just a simple little piece of cantaloupe wrapped in prosciutto. I could have eaten 10 of these. I only ate 1, but man, I love this appetizer because it's right where you want it to be. You got the sweet of the cantaloupe, you got the salty of the prosciutto, and you don't have to feel guilty about it because they just give you a little piece of it. It's delicious. Number 2 on my list. And number 1 on the list is the king of the mountain. Not every cruise that I've been on lately has this, and so I was so excited to see a presentation of escargot. Now, escargot is evolved over the years. They used to come in a special dish where each little escargot had its own place to live and swim in garlic butter. But now we've gotten away from all of that hubbub. We've rid ourselves of these special dishes. Let's make it simple. Let's do it like they would in the French countryside. Let's just take a bowl. Let's throw some snails in there. Let's cover it with garlic and cover it with butter and maybe a little toasted bread. This thing is delicious. I tell you, I don't know how healthy it is. It can't be that healthy, but you got the snails, and I've said it before, snails are just a delivery system for butter and garlic. And as you're sitting there going, man, I wish I could have got more of that butter and garlic in me, they're like, oh yeah, we've given you a piece of bread to sop it up. Escargot was delicious. You can see that it was browned perfectly right there on the top. I may have got 2. Escargot, number 1 on my appetizer list. King of the mountain. Now let's get into the entrees. Let's get into the main course. Number 6, this was the 6th thing that I had on the cruise ship. I was worried that I was eating too much red meat. You might see that as we go along. And I said, let me try something different. This was a breaded portobello mushroom. It was stuffed with some sausages. So it was similar to a stuffed mushroom. And then you take the stuffed mushroom and you do it chili relleno style. You put some breading on it, you fry it. It was good. It was interesting. I tell you, the mushroom, the portobello was still nice and moist on the inside. It worked well. It's not the prettiest dish, right? A lot of brown, a lot of yellow. I wasn't interested in any of the vegetables there, so it was okay. And it was the last night, so we're already sad that we're getting ready to leave the group that we were with. This was not bringing it home for me, so this is number 6 on my entree list. The number 5 entree, really classic cruising fare. The execution not bad here. Prime rib, cooked medium, loaded baked potato, big old pile of horseradish sauce. I mean, it hit the spot. Again, this is something that we probably had hundreds of times in our life. You can get it on most cruises. It was executed well. It was flavorful, but you know, again, middle of the road. The Caesar salad and that sad shrimp cocktail, that's a cruising meal for me. But yeah, prime rib, good, but not the top spot. Number 4, kind of another classic meal, at least for me, and this was prepared really well. Filet, cooked medium, beans, mashed potatoes, and one of my favorite flavor combinations is the filet with Bearnaise sauce. Bearnaise sauce, I'll look for any reason to eat Bearnaise. So really enjoyed this dinner. Number 4 on my list, the filet with the Bearnaise. Number 3 is kind of a shocker for me. I don't normally go pork chop on a cruise. I've never had this dish on a Carnival cruise, and so I had the grilled pork chops. I think this was kind of early in the cruise for me. This was delicious. Pork chops, cooked right. They were moist. They were that nice white color on the inside. Just a real simple sauce on top and some mashed potatoes. This was a great meal. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Number 2, it was my first time having lobster on Carnival Cruise Line, at least the lobster night. This was really our first 7-day cruise on Carnival, and so it had the included lobster on one of the formal nights. Good job on this lobster. Lobster tail, a risotto, and grilled shrimp. Everything on this plate was delicious. I had 2 tails that night, and I tell you what, the shrimp was cooked well, the lobster was cooked well, the risotto had a nice flavor. Nothing wrong with this dish at all. I would order it again. So number 1 was a little shocking to me. Almost every night on the Carnival menu, they have a flat iron steak option. That's kind of their go-to steak. If you don't want anything else on the menu, you can go flat iron steak. Well, I noticed on one night the flat iron steak option was gone and it was replaced with beef tenderloin. And I said, man, I've never had beef tenderloin on the Carnival ship. Let me order that. Well, this is what I got, and what it doesn't reveal in appearance, it sure revealed in flavor. This was like a nice aged rub tenderloin. It had a nice spicy taste on the outside. This is a medium preparation, and man, it was tender, it was moist, and the combination of the rub on the outside and the sauce there, it was delicious. I don't even know what that side is. I don't think I ate it. It looks like a creamed cauliflower or some sort of potato. The beef was the star of this presentation, and it is a lasting taste for me. It's something like, oh, I'll definitely have to look each night and see if that beef tenderloin shows up, because it was delish. Main dining room, one of the reasons I like to go there is I enjoy sitting down, spending time with people. I enjoy plated food like that, and I enjoy the experience of being able to hang out and have a nice dining room experience. And the cool thing is it's included in the cruise fare, no additional cost. And there's a variety of food. Look, I kind of went beef heavy on those entrees, but as you can see, there is a variety of food between the desserts, the appetizers, and the entrees. So the question for the comments is this: what is your favorite entree on Carnival Cruise Line? If you don't cruise Carnival, what is your favorite cruise entree? Leave a comment below, and also let me know on my list, what looked the best? How about that? You don't know what they tasted like. What looked the best? Thanks so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. Hey, and while you're here, check out one of these other videos. Again, thanks so much for stopping by. Tony with Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.